Welcome to another episode of the One-on-One podcast. I am Josh Katz. I am joined by Ryan Esteban. I'm going to go out of order this time. Ryan Esteban and Kathy Baker. And one of our favorite people who I'll introduce in a second, who's sitting here in the studio with us, which we don't always get to have. Normally our guests are virtual, so it's nice to, have another warm body in here. And so before I introduce him, I want to ask Kathy and Ryan a question that our guest, I'm sure, will have a lot to speak on. What piece of content are you two most excited for this summer, either television or movie?
Ooh.
Can I go another way?
Yeah, please, Kathy. I mean, yes, if you want. I already know what you're going to say, but go ahead.
I read all the time.
Oh, never mind. That's not where I was going.
Okay. Well, I love to read more than I do like watching movies because I don't know. But especially in the summer, I've just read the best novel, and it's by Kristen Hanna, and it's called The Women. And I'm telling you guys, it is just so brilliantly written. But it's about three women who were nurses in the Vietnam War. And I'm a baby boomer, but I'm at the very end of it. So I really wasn't politically, actively knowledgeable of a lot that was going on. I'm just so impressed with this author's research and the storytelling. So that's my gig right now, man. That is one. It's called The Women. And for the readers out there, pick it up, man. It is.
Yeah, that sounds good. I like that. I feel like that could turn into a good television show or movie.
Well, let me tell you what, I know I'm going to be upset when they do the movie because the movie's never as good as the book. So there you go.
Ryan?
Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah, it's the obvious answer.
The obvious one. We got our tickets for it.
You
said you already have your tickets for it?
Yeah, man. I'm actually looking forward, and this one's this week, I believe, is The Bear. Season 3 comes out this week, so...
Well, I'm going to introduce our guest who knows this world better than all of us, and Ryan and I actually know this world very well. Nima Nakshab, our brand director, social media icon, jack of all trades, probably the funniest person I've ever met. Welcome. What's your answer?
My answer is the Celine Dion documentary out on June 25th, which I believe is today. So I will be watching that on Amazon Prime. Yeah, I'm very excited.
We're actually going to watch it after this episode. We're just going to, after we're done shooting, we're just going to put it on.
So before we get into it, no one cares about Kevin Costner's like epic 2-part Civil War movie that he's doing this summer?
Yes, I am excited because my friend is in the movie.
Oh, that's cool.
So
Kathy, this is why we bring him on, because Nima's so connected in this area.
But yes, the Kevin Costner, what is it called? Horizon? It's called Horizon.
Yes, Horizon. Yeah.
I think
An American Saga.
That's an American Saga. Yeah. Yes. So he's not coming back to Yellowstone. If you're hearing that for the first time, he's definitely not. But his new saga, Horizon, seems to be a very high budget cowboy story. So,
which I would love to have an entire episode dedicated to talking about this stuff. But we did bring Nima on here for a reason. Kathy, I know during the pandemic, Nima was very instrumental in helping our network with growing their social channels. And Nima has built a personal and professional social media platform that is very impressive. And he is a huge help with our company's social media platform. So, Kathy, maybe kind of go back to what Nima was doing a couple years ago and then why we have him on today.
He was so instrumental during the pandemic of when we couldn't get in front of buyers and sellers and staying top of mind of giving us the best tips possible to do that. And I think at that time, people were still a little bit cautious about social media because we're talking like 4 or 5 years ago, right? Believe it or not.
Right.
And just those key things to get in front of people, what to do, what not to do. We would love to have that discussion again because there's still foolishness out there.
Yeah.
Let me just be the one to say it. But what those best practices are, just so appreciative of Nima and his story and what he does for the brand. He does so much to keep the brand top of mind. And if I had to say one word, I would say engaging.
Engaging is a good word. Very good word.
So Nima, I know it comes very naturally to you. It's kind of like it's talking to an athlete who's sport just comes naturally to them. But how do you keep up with trends? How are you constantly growing your social your personal and professional social channels?
I would say, and Kuba would agree with this, is we have to be posting all the time. And I agree with him 92% of that statement. You have to be posting content regularly, especially with the Instagram algorithm, with all the algorithms that are out there. So whether it's Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook, whatever, the more you are in front of people without being an annoyance, you have to bring something to the table. You can't just be posting the same thing over and over again. But yeah, Instagram finds that the more engaging, like Kathy said, the more engaging you are, or the more engaging your posts are, the more that you show up, and hopefully the more that you grow, type thing. So it's very important to do that. Always be in front of people.
Go ahead, Kathy.
Always be in front. Okay, if we can pause here a moment, because back in the pandemic, you said something to me that I've practiced and I'll never forget. You said, when you post something and someone comments,
Right.
think about it like you're walking through the park and somebody's sitting on the bench and they go, hey, would you ignore them or would you pause and either wave and speak back or have a conversation?
Right.
And to ignore them would be rude. So speak to that a little bit. Is that part of the engagement? Is the reciprocity of that not just posting, but re-engaging, or what?
Right. So what you have to know about all kinds of social media is people on social media, they want to speak. They want their voices to be heard. So any way that you can have your content basically asking a question or engaging with the audience to either talk back or answer a question of some sort, to
some sort of call to action.
Some sort of call to action, correct. So if you're able to post something like that, the more engagement you get. Like on LinkedIn, let's say you get 10 likes on your LinkedIn post, 3 days later, you're still at 10 likes, but someone commented. If you respond back to that comment, it basically goes back up to not the top of the algorithm, but basically your post is then shown again to another 100 people, another 200 people. So having content that has a call to action is very important, because you get more comments and then you also get more engagement and views that way too, whether people comment or not.
I think you brought up a good word a few minutes ago that I want to go back to. And you said you don't want to be an annoyance.
Right.
And I know we talked about this a little bit off camera. Maybe talk about some best, and these might be obvious to us or some of our listeners or people who are watching this, but they're not to other people. Can you maybe go over some best practices of things that you probably shouldn't be saying or doing or showing via your social media channels, especially when you are a real estate agent where that's your business?
Right. I would say that obviously listings are so important, because you are trying to show, the house. You are trying to show, you're obviously getting a listing in itself is very exciting for an agent. I know it is. But let's change that a little bit. Every listing post that I see, I don't know if there's some kind of rules behind it, but make it more engaging. I love to see the posts that are like, come view this house, and they like open the door and like you go on like a mini tour of the house. I cannot stand when I see the listing flyer and like
a couple slides, like
there's like 4 pictures, a header image. It has the address and it has the realtor's picture on the bottom right hand corner. That literally does nothing for me, and there's no price on it most of the time, and that's also annoying, because I want to know right away, like, how much is this house? Obviously, you want prospective people to reach out to you to ask you that, but I think making the content a little bit different than just a listing flyer is so important, because you can do it in many ways. You can do a 1-minute video of the house, make it quick, but make it engaging. Have you doing like an MTV Cribs kind of situation where you're following the agent through the home and they show you some really cool part of the home. Like just a video clip in itself, even if it's 30 seconds to a minute, is more engaging and a little more. It's much better than just a static image.
Well, and they're getting a glimpse of you as the real estate professional as well.
Right. So sorry, you kind of have to do your hair that day. But
Yeah.
I know that's always an issue.
I want to pause just a moment and say, we're not talking about Matterport. We're not talking about a
Correct.
tour. We're talking about just something that people are going to, I want to go back to engagement.
Correct.
People are going to click and go, wow, cool bar or nice kitchen or great patio.
Yeah.
Nice pool. Right.
Even if it's a 900 square foot house or a 500 square foot house. There's some crazy listings that I've seen that are like $2 million for like 600 square feet these days. But I was watching the video and it seems like a charming house because I got to see it in this 30-second video. And the way that they filmed it was just on an iPhone. It wasn't high production. There wasn't fancy lighting. They just were not shaky and they were stable.
It also makes it feel more attainable, right? Mm-hmm. Like when you have this like huge production value, it doesn't feel believable, and two, it doesn't feel attainable for a lot of people. And
going off of that is a lot of real estate agents will use drones, and they will do those really cool like drone shots over the house, and then they like zoom in. And that's really high production. That's not necessarily necessary.
Well, I'd love to ask
all the time.
I'd love to ask Ryan actually. I know your expertise is video production, but is there tools or entry level things that professionals can use to create, like what Nima said, to create a 30-second to a minute video that they can post that's not going to have all the bells and whistles that like something you create, but still going to have it's still going to have value for their social media?
I feel like this is going to be detrimental to everything I do because
you're about to get all basically like here's all the AIs that you can use.
No, but I do think like the social media apps and the value of pretty much a decent smartphone nowadays, like that's pretty much all you need. I know we've talked about it many times before about how if you have a general idea of just how to frame what you're filming, if it's the house, like knowing how to exactly frame it, or if you the realtor are in the frame of the video, like kind of how to naturally use, basic rule of thirds and things that you can learn pretty easily. Like I think that there's a time and place for high value productions, obviously, but what you guys are saying in the sense of it creates, and I've always said this, like it creates like that personability of a person. It makes you feel like you actually know and you're getting to learn about that person that's sending you that photo or that video that you're watching. Right. Like it creates it much more personable.
And I think that's also the production value would have to be minimal too, because technically this would be content that they would be pushing out on the regular.
Yeah.
And you guys need to remember that you have, as you're scrolling through TikToks and Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, whatever, you have 0.2 seconds to grab their attention. Yeah. So the first 0.5 or 0.2 to 5 seconds of that video that you do has to be some kind of engaging thing. And then you can go into, okay, here's the house, or here's my story, or here's my post, or here's my daughter's graduation, or what. You have to make if the first part looks dumb, I'm just going to keep scrolling. So if it's if you're accidentally recording your shoes, or if you're accidentally recording a random like piece of grass type thing, and you didn't edit that part out, I'm just going to keep scrolling, most likely. So, but the first like 0.2 to 0.5 seconds has to be something that grabs your attention.
I was reading an article yesterday, and I don't want to get too into the weeds. Kathy, I want to hear your thoughts on this. And this was, do you follow The Strategist on Instagram? They posted it, and they were talking about the idea of influencer marketing and how it's not what it used to be. And especially as we move into the tail end of 2024 and into 2025, they were saying that less is more now. So quality over quantity. And then the other thing is us as consumers, we are now looking for kind of like what we were talking about, like something that's realistic, attainable, something that we could see ourselves doing or being in. And so they're saying brands should really start looking inwards to the employees that they have at their companies and using them for content on social media. So for example, us sitting here in the podcast room and Abby coming in and shooting a behind the scenes of us building this actual podcast episode would be a good piece of content for us to use online, and it's showing the actual employees of Realty One Group. And so, Kathy, I don't know what you think about that, but I think that that's if that's truly a trend and that's where social media is heading, or some sort of direction that it's heading. I mean, we have the perfect network for that.
Absolutely. Do you know who's always done that?
Who?
Southwest Airlines.
Yeah.
And I think part of their charm has been you could be part of us.
Yep.
And it's their culture.
And they're quote unquote regular people.
And they're regular people. Their
Yeah.
employees are on their posters. They're not models.
Right.
They've got the bagging guys who that's such an important role, but they've got them featured as highly as they do their pilots.
Yep.
And I love that. And I do think, that whole thing of less is more, especially in social media, because I love what you're saying, Nimi. First of all, engage, whether that's video or whatever it is, use your listings, make it personal. I love that you referenced your daughter's graduation or whatever that is, because I think consumers want to know who you are, to know the real you. So there's some things to do. What are some things just absolutely not to do? Because I am so opinionated about this, and I'm just going to try to stay quiet.
And it's especially not to bring up the elephant in the room, no pun intended, but like we're in an election year, so like there are. What are I know I basically just answered the question, but like, what are some things that you should not be doing, especially as a real estate professional on social media?
So I would say that if you have a personal page, do what you want. But the issue there is everybody can Google you. Everybody can. Yeah. There are now
very easy ways to find.
I was just watching a video. I was just watching a thing on Twitter where this guy was being horrible on a plane, and this woman on TikTok recorded the guy, and she asked all the girlies. That's like the girls on TikTok or Twitter, find this man and find her husband. And within I think it was within 20 minutes, all of TikTok found the husband or found the wife and said, "This is your husband cheating on you on the plane," type thing. So
I'm telling you, we're in a day and age where if you screw up
if
in
you
public
do something
and
wrong,
somebody records it. It doesn't take very long for people to find you where you work, everything. It's your just be a decent person. It's not. It's not hard.
I think that's too wild to me. I think where Kathy and I were going was don't put anything about your political affiliations or religious affiliations.
And I'm getting there. But yes, anything that you put on your personal page or anything that you do out in the real world, please be kind. That's my one thing, because people can and will find you these days. It's not hard especially if someone has a lot of followers on a social media platform. But as far as your social media, yes, obviously stay away from the politics. I would say if something is very neutral, like a charity or something like a give back type thing, especially if it's for children or if it's something for your local community and that kind of thing, as long as it doesn't lean in a weird way, go ahead, support it. And I feel like people really actually do enjoy giving back, or they do enjoy if you are doing something good in the community, the toy drive, food drive, those are all neutral things. So let's stay in the neutral. Let's not lean towards, let's support, this group. If there's a supportive of something that not everybody supports, but everybody supports wanting to help kids. Everybody supports wanting to feed.
Stick with helping kids and you'll be fine.
No, not even that. But what I mean, let's stick to the neutral. Let's stick to things that are good things. And then as far as social media goes, you can post about sports. That's okay. I think sports are fine. You can always, that's a good conversation starter. I don't know. It might lead on to something else. So be a little bit careful about that.
I think you bring up a good point. Right. Sports is a great example of something that's super polarizing. We all are fans of specific teams and Ryan might be a Yankees fan and I might be a Red Sox fan and our fans hate each other's guts, but we can still sit in the same room. That's something where you can post something and get into a quote unquote heated argument, but after that you shake hands and go away. I think what we are saying is when you get into these ideological conversations on your professional real estate social media page, Kathy, you said it off camera. Why pigeonhole yourself to 40 or 50% of the country or of your market or of whatever. It's just bad business.
Yeah.
And so whatever your personal views are, unless you want to pigeonhole your business, I would keep them to yourself.
Correct.
Well, and just let me be really blunt. Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah, nobody
It's
gives a
not-
shit. I agree.
What you and I have talked about, it's not like I'm going to read a post and go, you know what? They're right. I've been voting incorrectly my entire adult life. Nobody does that. And honestly, the thing I want to say to a lot of people is, did you realize you could actually read that and continue scrolling and not comment? And I'll go back, Nima, to your point. People want to be heard on social media. You know what? Sometimes you might want to be, but you don't need to be.
Right.
And just, try to use that critical thinking of long-term, how does this impact my income, my family, my reputation?
Oh, on that note, Kathy, if let's say you comment on a post of a political post, or you say something really mean to, Jennifer down the road type thing, you do realize that 80% of the time that your other followers can see that comment.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you're an accomplice to the murder now at that point.
Yeah. So if you think you're commenting discreetly on Facebook or on Instagram, like I've found it's really funny, like on Instagram, the funny post, or there's like a really cool like meme that's going around, or a joke type thing. It shows you your followers that commented first.
Yep.
Before it shows the other people that comment. So it'll say like, oh, Ryan commented ha 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 on this post, because we both have seen this post, but Ryan commented on it. So I can see his comment if he did comment. On Facebook, it's the same thing. If Joe comments on a political post and he's really rude to another woman that he doesn't even know, and you're friends with Joe, you will see Joe's comment on your
So like,
feed.
even if Joe didn't post that to his own page, he's still guilty of posting something like that or responding to something like that. So yeah, I think to keep it as simple as possible, just keep those opinions to yourself.
Unless it's positive. Then if it's positive,
Sure.
go ahead, comment all you want.
And I think that I will just say this: use your best judgment in this very polarized world that we're in. I would just use your best judgment on certain issues.
Yes, correct.
Well, Nima, I could sit and talk about this stuff with you all day.
We do.
I know, honestly, we do. Kathy, if you want to stay on after we stop recording, we'll probably continue talking about movies and sports and TV. But thank you for joining us. I think our network will really appreciate this. Kathy, I know we want to use Nima more for our One Coaching programs, and I think that social is something that's ever changing, and so it's something that we constantly have to be teaching.
And we're so grateful to have such an incredible subject matter expert who's top of mind and top of the industry.
I try. Thank you for having me on, you guys.
Thanks,
Thank
Nima.
you.
Thanks, Kathy. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
We thank you for joining us today on another episode of One on One, a Realty One Group podcast. We are powered by One.U and ask if you have suggestions, recommendations, or questions, please email learning@realtyonegroup.com. And remember, pay close attention to the details. Listen to understand, not respond, and always be a resource, not a sales pitch.